Soon, on March 5th, mixed martial arts fighting fans will be treated to another historic 5-5 round bout of the top welterweights, two best friends who have become sworn enemies. Dirty Talk master Colby Covington and Jorge Masvidal.
He's a joke. He's nobody. He's following in my footsteps. If I make a sandwich tomorrow, he's going to try and make the sandwich the same way.
At the end of the day, man, we're both just rooting for each other, man.
To our delight, the UFC has already officially announced this crazy fight. Since McGregor has been sidelined by the injury, and nothing much has been seen or heard of him. Of course, the whole MMA fandom has missed big fights like it is with Conor. When wherever you go, everyone is talking about the next UFC giant bout. Of course, the MMA world can't wait to see the Notorious in the octagon again, and UFC 272 will not be on the McGregor fight level, but it is going to be one of the biggest UFC events of the year, that's for sure. The welterweight stars are set to headline UFC Fight Night 272, which will take place March 5th at the T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas. It is known that both fighters have already given an agreement. UFC business director Hunter Campbell announced the organization of such a fight through ESPN. About this too informs the press service of the organization in the official Instagram account. It's going to be a big fight and a cool event. Colby Covington and Jorge Masvidal, both tough fighters. The two have wanted to meet for a long time, but the fight was derailed 3 times. There will be a lot of insult defense, in which I see the winner, of course, Colby Covington.
Yeah, I'm the king of Brazil, I owe it to the Brazilian fans to go back there and put on a show for them, The thing is that Brazil wasn't ready for me, so Dana had to put it in the U.S.
I personally think Colby is a decent man, except, of course, he's too much of a hardcore trash talker. There are times when he overdoes it. As for the Colby vs. Masvidal fight, George has little chance against this machine in the octagon. This is where Colby does whatever he wants with Masvidal for an hour. Colby is obviously better, yes. Masvidal can surprise, but you have to admit that at the moment, besides Darren Till, Masvidal has no convincing and important wins in his arsenal. Askren was not a big threat. He could only choke him in the clinch. In the stand-up, he was so harmless to Masvidal, and his victory over Nate Diaz was blurred with an early stoppage, and Diaz was not in good shape after the stop. So it's very unlikely that Masvidal will give Colby a fight after that downtime. He can knock out, there's no doubt about that, but I'm looking at the big picture, setting aside the possibility of it. UFC commercial director Hunter Campbell said, finally, they can settle their long-running conflict. A fight between former roommates and teammates will become a reality to the delight of mixed martial arts fans. Masvidal, ranked number 11 at welterweight in the MMA Fighting World Rankings, teased a potential fight with number 2 Covington on Twitter, indicating that it was his 4th attempt to book a match. He called Covington a fucking coward, and added, "Don't get out now." Both fighters returned to the octagon after losses to champion Kamaru Usman.
Balls drop because
the only thing you're losing faster than your hairline is that Power Ranger belt. When do your balls drop? Stop faking injuries. Oh, you're out for 8 months with a hernia injury? It takes 6 weeks of recovery. Stop faking injuries. You're the Tyron Woodley 2.0.
8 months?
That's
March.
right.
Let's
oh,
count.
hey, remember when you were in a wheelchair after your fight? In the post-fight? Yeah, and then you were jumping the barriers at the palms trying to get in my face.
And what happened?
Oh, yeah, fake.
What happened?
Hey, what happened? What about that wheelchair? I thought you were hurt. You fake injuries, fake excuses. Soft, dog. You're soft.
So Colby lost to the Nigerian in a rematch, losing by unanimous decision of the Masvidal. Chaos, however, put on a much more competitive performance than Jorge Masvidal, who was knocked out in the second round. Masvidal and Covington have a personal history both inside and outside the octagon. Plus, both fighters approached the fight at pivotal moments in their careers. Both challenged for the welterweight title last year and failed. Masvidal lost twice to champion Kamaru Usman, once by decision and again by hard knockout. And Covington lost by decision in a rematch to Usman after a technical knockout loss in 2019. Masvidal, 37, is a true mixed martial arts veteran. His professional career began back in 2003. Since then, Street Jesus has won 35 fights in 50 fights, defeating 18 opponents early. Made famous by his viral knockout of Ben Askren, Masvidal rocked his hype even more by outboxing Nate Diaz, but then lost twice to Kamaru Usman. Jorge Masvidal is a top-notch puncher with good knockout power. Alas, during his time in MMA, he never had time to develop a defense against takedowns, which could be a problem against Covington. Colby has made a lot of noise in the past years. In 2016 to 2021, the Americans' victims were Max Griffin, Brian Barberina, Damian Maia, Rafael Dos Anjos, Robbie Lawler, and Tyrone Woodley. Covington wins against most opponents in a dominant style. The main secret to Chaos's success lies in his incredible cardio. The 33-year-old fighter goes 5 rounds at a high pace with ease. Of course, you can't ignore the tremendous amount of work that Colby does in training. The former contender is one of the most disciplined fighters in the organization's roster. Colby Covington commented on his next opponent, Jorge Masvidal. "I don't think Masvidal can beat anybody else on the UFC roster. He will lose to any opponent. I've seen the lifestyle that Street Judas is living right now. This guy is fragile and undisciplined. He doesn't plow around the gym every day. He'll be beaten by any opponent now," Covington said. However, let's put aside the media side of George and look at his record. Masvidal has been competing professionally for a long time, so his stats are far from perfect. Out of 50 fights, he's won only 35. Gamebred has a large number of controversial losses. In his entire UFC career, the American has only lost a few times without question. 2 fights against Usman and Thompson. For a long time, the 37-year-old veteran fought at lightweight, but eventually focused on the welterweight division. Masvidal is a top-notch puncher with good knockout power. Alas, during his time in MMA, he never had time to develop a defense against takedowns, which could be a problem against Covington, who is currently ranked 6th in the 170-pound category. Masvidal fought twice for the UFC title, but lost both times to Kamaru Usman. While Covington earned title chances with blood and sweat, Masvidal was simply in the right place at the right time. Masvidal did the bulk of his work outside the octagon. He created a striking image of the Cuban gangster and got a lot of media coverage. Of course, none of this would have been possible without a couple of flashy knockouts that the 37-year-old veteran sent Ben Askren and Darren Till into. There was a point where the Miami welterweight could have rivaled Conor McGregor in level of height. Masvidal has a heavy punch with both hands. George's crowning punches are a left hook on the fast approach and a right straight punch. The American also likes to use Muay Thai elements such as knees and elbows. The American has 18 early wins, 16 of them by early knockout. The 37-year-old former contender has poor defense against takedowns, so it won't be easy to fight Covington. The fight can't be called one-sided though, as Masvidal has the necessary punching power to punish Covington for his mistakes. But if George doesn't knock out his compatriot in 2 rounds, his chances of success will diminish. Colby will put Masvidal in a fight in high density to wear down his opponent. Given his poor passing defense, his position in this fight just doesn't look too confident. A 3rd straight loss would drop Masvidal to the edge of the top 10, and the fighter is already 37 years old. The most likely scenario for the upcoming fight is a convincing victory for Covington by unanimous decision.
Killer wrestling, that's Colby. Amazing gas tank, that's Colby. Unstoppable mentality, that's Colby.
I don't know.
Well, he brings the drama. He shouldn't be shocked. I mean, who the fuck causes more drama than Colby?
I know, yeah.
Still
Good
though,
stuff.
that's how he's so popular. It's both things, right?
Yeah.
Which is rare. Like, he has incredible skill level. He's as tough as they come. And he talks a lot of shit.
Yeah, that's good.
And most people don't know that he got forced into talking shit. Like, the UFC was about to cut him. They didn't like his style. They told him. And so then he fought Damian Maia in Brazil and then called him a bunch of filthy animals and, and said a bunch of crazy shit.
Places a dump.
Yeah, they went crazy.
They took exception to that.
He went pro wrestling heel.
Yeah.
And it changed
It
changed the trajectory of his career. What people don't know about Colby, what you know about Colby, is when you're with him in person, super nice guy.
Oh, he's actually soft-spoken.
He's a great guy.
He's had dinner at the house. We had elk and just polite, soft-spoken.
Yeah.
My wife and daughter, everybody's there, just being as nice as can be.
He's a gentleman.
That's who he is.
That's the real guy.
Yeah, for sure.
This other thing is like a character that he does, which is so fascinating.
It works. I mean, I watched an interview him and DC just did a couple days ago, and I mean, DC gave him every opportunity. He's like, "Do you ever get tired? Do you ever sit at home and say, I would, could give it a rest and just be?" And he's just like, "No." He's like, he's something like he's always on. And he's like, DC said, "Do you respect Usman? I'm like as a fighter." He's like, "No." So he wouldn't even. I mean, he's sticking to the script.
Yeah, well, he's got that pro wrestling heel character down. And if he ever decides to leave the UFC and go to pro wrestling, he would have a giant career in pro wrestling.
Yeah.
If he wanted to.
Probably.
Oh my God. If he decided, if he fought, let's say whatever happens with his career. But like 5 years from now, if he decides to go to pro wrestling, my God, will that guy have a fucking career over there?
Yeah.
Just talk so much shit.
Oh, I know. It's good. I can't wait.
And at the end, I would like to attach my previous videos to you. On the channel, we have a lot of good videos on the topic, and if you like my videos, hit the like button and ring the bell so as not to miss the next video. Thanks for watching.